Continue reading the main story. But in Washington, those denials were increasingly dismissed. Senator Mitch McConnell of Kentucky, the majority leader, declared, "I believe the women." Senator Cory Gardner of Colorado, the head of the Senate Republican campaign arm, said that the Senate should vote to expel the former state Supreme Court judge if he wins because he does not meet the ethical and moral requirements of the United States Senate. The day's events seem to harden the resolve of Senate Republicans to avert what they fear would be a nightmare scenario going into next year's midterm elections, being associated with an alleged child predator. "It's drip by drip, cut by cut," said Senator Richard C. Shelby of Alabama, the state's senior lawmaker. "It doesn't look good." Mr. Moore responded with fury, not only refusing to quit the race but stating that the person who needed to step aside was Mr. McConnell. Photo Roy S. Moore, the Republican nominee for Senate in Alabama, at a campaign event in Birmingham, Alabama, on Saturday. Credit Brett Anderson/Associated Press. "He has failed conservatives and must be replaced," said Mr. Moore in a statement, appending President Trump's trademark, #DrainTheSwamp. Publicly, Mr. McConnell, appearing at a news conference in Louisville, said he was looking at drafting a write-in candidate for the December 12 special election. Privately, Mr. McConnell was doing more than merely looking. One idea being discussed, first brought up by two different White House officials who spoke on the condition of anonymity, would be for Attorney General Jeff Sessions to run as either a write-in candidate or to be appointed to what was his seat should Mr. Moore win and be immediately removed from office. Advertisement. Continue reading the main story. Mr. McConnell is supportive of the idea and discussed it on Monday in a telephone call with Vice President Mike Pence that was chiefly about the Republican tax overhaul proposal, according to party officials briefed on the call. Mr. Sessions remains popular among Alabama Republicans, but his relationship with Mr. Trump has frayed since he recused himself from the investigation of the role that Russia played in last year's presidential campaign. The swap would be something of a win-win for Mr. McConnell and Mr. Trump. The senator is eager to rid himself of Mr. Moore and the president has been open about his disappointment with Mr. Sessions. That they even discussed such a radical maneuver spoke to the desperate straits that Republicans find themselves in. If Doug Jones, the Democratic nominee, wins, it would narrow the Republican advantage in the Senate to a single seat. Photo Senator Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader, at the Capitol last month. Credit Gabriella DeMazuke for the New York Times. But Republicans increasingly believe that enduring such a narrow majority may be a price they are willing to pay if it means keeping Mr. Moore from their ranks. Should Mr. Moore prevail, Republicans believe the debate over whether he should be allowed to take and keep his seat could drag on for months. The Republicans' legislative agenda, including on taxes, already faces uncertain prospects and could be swallowed in a maelstrom of controversy around Mr. Moore and his fitness to serve. The implications for the 2018 elections could be even graver, Republicans fear, with several party strategists predicting that Democrats would brand them as the party of child sex abuse. For their part, Alabama Republicans are warning of the perils of barring Mr. Moore from the Senate. A write-in campaign, they suggested, would prove fruitless and perhaps help the Democrat, while a move to block or expel Mr. Moore would further poison the relationship between the Republican Party's leaders and its populist wing. If the people of this state go forward and select their U.S. Senator as Roy Moore, it will be because there is a deep suspicion of what has been coined as the establishment in D.C., said State Senator Phil Williams, whose district includes Mr. Moore's home county. And if the establishment then chooses and tries to unseat, or in some way disavow, that candidate, it will create a backlash the likes of which the party has never seen before. Newsletter sign up. Continue reading the main story. Breaking news emails. Sign up to receive an email from the New York Times as soon as important news breaks around the world. Please verify you're not a robot by clicking the box. Invalid email address. Please re-enter. You must select a newsletter to subscribe to. Sign up. You agree to receive occasional updates and special offers for the New York Times' products and services. Thank you for subscribing. An error has occurred. Please try again later.